Hey Sojourn, as we enter into our December giving campaign, Paul and I wanted to take a few minutes to outline what our goal is, where the money's going to be going, and how you can give. But before we do that, we want to think through why we give. As we say every week, we recognize that everything we have is a gift from God, and He calls us to be good stewards. And we also are called to give cheerfully and sacrificially. And in reality, that can seem difficult. Those things seem in tension with one another. But as we recognize that everything that we give is an overflow of God's grace in our hearts, we can actually give cheerfully and sacrificially at the same time. And so it's important to point out a couple of obstacles that we have and lies that we believe that keep us from giving as God would call us to. The first one is that we feel like holding on to our money makes us feel secure. And in reality, that's dangerous. We should not be looking to money for security, but we can trust in God to provide for us, and we can find our security in Him. Secondly, we think that possessions or experiences, things that we can get from money, are where we will find joy. And while we can get a taste of happiness through those things, as we reflect on how we use money to seek happiness and joy, it's always fleeting. It always leaves us looking for something else. And so we need to recognize that God is the source of where we can find true joy. And so as we live in a culture that idolizes money, we need to remind one another regularly of why we give. And why we give is because God calls us to be good stewards. We recognize that everything is from Him. We recognize that God will provide for us and He will care for us. And we believe that true joy is only found in God and not through things that we can find through money.
Thanks, Adam. Sojourn, I want to give you a brief update on our current financial situation and a sense of where your gifts will be going this December. Historically at Sojourn, we've given around 15% of our budget to external partners on a month-by-month basis. And for our December campaigns, we've historically given a much higher percentage of those funds to external partners. We've had many seasons as a church where we've found ourselves blessed abundantly by God, and in return, we've been able to be very generous with others. However, this year, we're in a uniquely difficult season. In March of last year, we moved into a new space under a new mortgage, which increased our annual budget expenses. And unfortunately, immediately after our first gathering in our new space, COVID hit its initial peak. And due to that, and a variety of other factors, over the past 18 months, giving is down. And we have moved from what has regularly been a budget surplus to a year with a budget shortfall. And so in light of this particular season we find ourselves in, we think it's both wise and appropriate to have a different focus this December. With that said, we plan to direct 85% of our December campaign gifts internally this year. And in keeping with our general budget, we plan to continue to give 15% of these gifts externally. This 85% will help us to close our budget shortfall and help us to get to a place of financial stability where we can consider hiring a new lead pastor. The 15% will go towards two primary places. First, towards church planting and missions. Raph and D'Amico, two Sojourn Houston church planters who are planting just south of downtown. Chase Woodhouse, who is a new Sojourn Houston church planting resident who you'll be meeting here at Sojourn Heights in the next month or two. He's planting in Southwest Houston. And then Justin and Carly McGinn and their boys are preparing to move overseas to the UK to serve for a season there. The second place that 15% will go towards is to existing local partners. You know them, Fostering Family, Every Shelter, and the Northside 24-Hour Club. Each of these partners is close to our hearts because members of Sojourn play an integral role in those ministries.
So the goal for this year's December campaign is to raise $125,000. As a reference point, last year we raised about $118,000. And so we're looking to stretch a little bit beyond last year, but we do think that it's a realistic goal and that through your faithfulness and generosity that we'll be able to meet or even exceed that goal. I do want to note that in light of our budget shortfall that Paul outlined, we did actually discuss whether we should reach out to other churches or to past members to seek their assistance. We don't think we're at a point where we really need to do that yet, but we do think it is a point where we need to ask you, our faithful covenant members, to seek God and ask how you can give sacrificially during this season to help sustain us through a tough time. And so it's also helpful to think about how God has been faithful to us individually. so many of you have not had a job loss, have not been affected financially, whereas so many in our world have been. And so in light of God's faithfulness to us, seek Him and see how you can help and how He is calling you to help us, our church, in this time. I do want to leave you and remind you what God says in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 7 through 8. It says, "Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that having all sufficiency in all things at all times, you may abound in every good work." So the opportunity to contribute is now open. It will remain open through early to mid-January in case you want to wait until 2022 to give. And as always, we'll keep you updated, as we have in the past, every month as how we're doing and in terms of meeting our goal.
To talk briefly about how to give this year, when you're giving your December campaign gifts this year, please consider doing them through an app called Church Center. If you aren't familiar with Church Center, we've spent the past few months getting up and running on Church Center, which is an app offered by Planning Center. If you have been scheduled as a volunteer here at Sojourn Heights, then you've heard of Planning Center. Church Center is an app within that environment. Giving through Church Center has significantly lower transaction fees than PushPay, which is our current online giving portal. And so while we haven't yet made the full switch from PushPay to Church Center, we wanted to make you aware of this option and encourage you to consider giving to the December campaign through Church Center. To give you a sense of the difference in fees, for our campaign goal of $125,000, if all of those online gifts went through Church Center as opposed to PushPay, then we would save anywhere between $1,000 and $3,500 in fees. It's quite easy to give through Church Center. Let me show you. The app is available on the App Store and Google Play, and it is pretty self-explanatory. Once you download the app, you'll find Sojourn Heights Church, and using your email address or phone number, you'll log in or create an account. Once you have logged in, you'll click Give at the bottom of your screen, enter your donation amount, and enter your payment information. You can also give online through your web browser. To do so, simply navigate to our website, sojournheights.org, click Give in the top right corner, and click the button for the 2021 December campaign. This will take you to the Church Center website where you'll enter your giving amount, your email and name, and payment information. For those of you who are more comfortable giving through PushPay than on Church Center, PushPay will remain available. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, but we did want to make you aware of the lower fees available through Church Center, both for ACH, which is our preferred method, and for credit card transactions. We're also able to receive stock gifts, and so if you're interested in donating a stock to Sojourn, please reach out to us, and we'll give you details on that.
Thanks so much, Sojourn. In closing, on behalf of all the elders, I just want to say that we love you and we are so blessed to serve a church who has been so faithful and so generous for so many years. If you have any questions about the December giving campaign, you can reach out to Dee Towler, our administrative assistant. You can email him at dd@sojournheights.org. And we look forward to seeing God's continued faithfulness to our church in this season. Thanks, Sojourn.
Thanks, Sojourn.